Hello, I'm Amma Ablod, and this is my vlog, Amma Says. Thank you for watching. So today I'd like to tell you about an experience I had 7 years ago. In 2013, I was told I had 3 days to live. 3 days to live. It means I was dying in 3 days. And I want to share this experience with you. What I spent those 3 days doing and how I'm still alive. So what happened was on a Sunday afternoon. After church, I decided to go to the mall. I was still in school then, so I went to the mall after service. And while waiting for my friend, the friend I was going to meet there, I decided to take a stroll through the mall. I was walking and then I met this guy who was staring at me. So I was wondering why he kept staring at me, and I decided, well, maybe I should stare back, stare him away. So I started staring at him too, and he stared even harder. And so I thought of asking him, hey, like, why are you staring at me like that? Then my asking him turned the staring into a very pitiful look. Like, when somebody stares at you because they feel sorry for you, that look, and it got me puzzled because I was wondering, what could be wrong with me? I started looking around. Did I mess myself without knowing? That wasn't the case. So this guy got closer to me, and then he introduced himself. I can't even remember his name, but he told me that he was from Mali. He was visiting Ghana to be on a radio show to help some people, and talk about things happening in their life. I mean, this guy was talking about spiritual stuff. Let's say he was somebody that reads cards or palm, and so I think that's the kind of person he was trying to tell me he was. But he told me that he is a Muslim. Now, I'm not trying to talk about Muslims here, but this guy told me he was a Muslim. He said it was a Malam of sorts, So I figured, I was like, okay, well, I'm not interested in whatever you want to tell me. He was like, you're just coming back from church. I said, yes, I am, but really? Now, you would think that, okay, well, if I was dressed and came back from church, then obviously anybody should know that I'm coming back from church. But the thing is, the way I was dressed, I don't think that should make you think that I automatically just came back from church. So this guy decided to engage me in more conversation. I asked if we could sit down. I said, okay, I'll sit down with you. What is it? And he told me that he could see death around me. Yes, like death, like somebody dying. And I was like, death? Like, really, around me? Are you even okay? Please, don't start. He was like, no, you're dying in 3 days. And I was like, oh, please, I was laughing. Then he said, he made references to some things that made me be like, oh my God, this could be true. Like, he's saying this and that happened to me. And yes, these things happened to me. So maybe he's really seeing something. These things I have now come to know as, these are things that are common in people's lives, especially people around the age I was when he was saying these things to me. So I was like, But then I was a bit puzzled. But I sat down with him and we spoke some more. He was telling me more things. And when he finished, he asked me, is that something you want me to tell you? Anything else? And I said, well, I can't think of anything now. And he said, by the way, the number one thing you don't have to do is don't tell anybody that you're dying in 3 days. And I said, I can't tell anyone. He said, no, you can't tell anyone. So I was like, how am I going to handle this? Like, how do you know you're dying in 3 days and you can't tell anybody this? I said, okay. And I said, well, what can I do to, stay alive or change this thing? And he said, well, he can help me, but I have to get a number of things. And I said, well, I don't even think I can afford these, whatever it is, when you give me the list. So it's fine, I'm sure I'll figure it out. And he said, are you sure? I said, yes. Now you're probably wondering if I was scared and panicking, how did I find the courage to tell him that don't do anything about it? Because then I told myself, if I had 3 days to live, then I want to do well with God. I want to reach out to my Lord and personal Savior, Jesus Christ, because I ascribe to the Christian faith and I want to die and go to heaven. So if I have 3 days, hey, I'm even lucky to have the chance to make things right before. So I wasn't going to risk my chances of going to heaven by engaging with a malam and asking him to do some things for me. No. So it was quite easy for me to tell him, go. So when he left, he kept looking back. I still didn't look in his way. A few minutes later, my friend, who I was there to seek him, when he joined me, he was like, is everything okay? You're unusually quiet. I said, oh, well, I'm fine. So do you want to eat? I'm like, no, because suddenly I wasn't even hungry. I remember all I ordered was pineapple juice with ginger. And while sipping, I was so tense. My friend was like, this is really not you. Is everything okay? I told my friend, okay, what would you do if somebody said you were dying in 3 days? And he said, he laughed and he said, who would say that to you? And I said, well, somebody just told me that and this and that. And he was like, and you listened to him, like you actually sat down with him and let him tell you such things. Get up, let's go look for him. And I said, no, wait. I mean, if he's right, I don't want to piss him off any further. So, we're not talking to him. It's fine, it's okay. And so my friend helped me take my mind off it. And then we spoke about other things. I got up and left. Went back to my hostel in Cantonment. When I got to the hostel, my colleagues in the hostel were all sitting outside and just having fun. Like, okay, what's going on? And they said, oh, the light is off, so we're here. And people were leaving to town to go and have fun. I was a bit worried because I was like, oh my God, I don't want to be alone. Then all the fear started coming back. And I was like, I don't want to be alone. So 3 of my friends, guys, they were like, they're going to Osu to watch a football match. I asked them to wait for me while I go upstairs to change. I went upstairs and I met my roommate who was a Muslim. And I asked her, hi, you're a Muslim. If you met a malam who said you were dying, would you take it seriously? She said yes. And when she said yes, my heart, oh God. Hey, my tummy was turning. I'm sure my blood pressure probably shot up. So I was like, oh, okay. And she's like, why would you ask that? I'm like, oh, never mind. Because, I was told not to tell anybody. I'd already broken that rule by telling my friends. So I wasn't going to make this worse. I was actually regretting telling my friend after my Muslim friend told me if a malam told her that she would take it seriously. So I was really scared at this point. When I stepped away, I went to look for the student fellowship leader. Because then I was ready to activate my Christian faith. So I went to meet the student fellowship leader and I asked him, okay, you're a Christian. So let's say you met a Muslim malam who told you that something horrible like death was happening to you in a few days. Will you take it seriously? And he said yes. Hey! By then, oh my God, I don't know how I kept my cool. Like, there was just like, what, is everything okay? I said, yeah, I'm just, I went to film school. So I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just trying to research something, a script I'm working on. He said, okay. So I moved on to ask one of the other executives in the Christian faith, this time a lady, and I asked her as well. Because she was one of the people I saw as Holy Kokrife. I reached out to her. She also said she would take it seriously. So by then I was so scared. I didn't even bother changing again. And then I followed my friends to Osu to go and watch the football. And they're like, why are you really following us? Because you don't like football matches. I'm like, well, I can like it. I sat there with them and then I said I wanted alcohol. I want to drink alcohol. And they're like, you really want to drink alcohol here? And like, yeah. I'm like, I actually want more. What they didn't know was that I wanted to get tipsy so that I can sleep easily, because I knew then that it wouldn't be easy sleeping. So I started wondering, so how do I get my family to accept this? Because I want them to have closure. If I'm dying in 3 days, I don't want my family to spend the rest of their life feeling like, oh my God, I'm the last born. My dad would crush my dad. I'm like, oh God, so my dad is probably going to die almost immediately after I die, because this will really crush him. I'm like, my dad's hope in me. I'm like, my dad's project. And then I didn't get to fulfill everything I was supposed to do. So these things worried me. I was really thinking about how my family was going to take this. And even my friends, when I die, they're going to say I died too young. So these were my worries whilst I was sitting there and we were watching football. So when we were leaving there, and I told one of my friends, PK, I told him, like, PK, what if I'm dying? And he was laughing. He was like, if you are dying, you'll be here drinking beer. He made light the situation I was dealing with. So he thought I was joking and he let it slide. When I got back to my hostel, the light was on. So I was like, yay, thank God. So whilst my roommates were sleeping, I turned on the TV. I didn't want the TV off. One woke up and tried it. I'm like, no, I'm still watching it. It's like, won't you sleep? I'm like, no. Then, because I didn't want to sleep and I wanted something to keep me entertained whilst the others slept. And that night I was so worried. I'm like, what if I die when I sleep? So I'm not sleeping. And I started praying. I gave my life to Christ that night. I asked God to prepare my family and my friends to accept the fact that I'm dying in 3 days. And I said, please, I really want to go to heaven when I die. And it's actually okay. I wasn't so scared of the death itself. I was worried about the people in my life and how they were going to receive it. Surprising thing is that at that moment, I didn't think about my aspirations. I didn't think about the things I wanted to do with my life. I didn't think about the school I was in and the things I wanted to study. None of that mattered. I was rather concerned about the pain my loved ones would feel when I'm no more, assuming they actually feel some pain. So I was wondering how I was going to help make it easier. And it was very difficult because I was told not to tell anybody what I was going through. So how do you give them closure without actually telling them that you are dying? This was one of the things I was dealing with. I don't know how it happened. Before I knew, I think it was probably at dawn, I slipped and slept. When I woke up, I was like, oh, I'm awake. I didn't die. I didn't die. My neighbors, my roommate was like, is everything okay? I'm like, yeah, everything is fine. Everything is fine. So I was like, wait, so do I count this as day one? Or yesterday was part of day one? So do I have 2 days left, or the 3 days start from now? Like, I was wondering. So I took time praying again. Now I don't pray. Then I wasn't really into long prayers, very short prayers, go straight to the point, papa. But now I was doing long prayers, like worship and praises, and then pray and pray and pray. So I prayed again. I was like, God, so if this is day one, what can I do before the time comes? I was like, okay, maybe I could write it down so they'll find it later that I knew I was going to die. So it's okay, it's fine. I'm at peace with God. I'm going to heaven, so don't be worried and all that, or what? I dressed up and went for lectures, and I saw one of my lecturers who didn't believe in Christianity or Islam or all that. Actually, if anything, he was more of, the universe kind of people. Talks about the universe does this and that. So I was like, it would be good to have another perspective. So I met him and I was like, well, if I'm dying anyway, then I just have to tell somebody. I can't keep this to myself any longer. So I met him and I was like, okay, so there's a problem. What will you do if somebody told you this? And then he started laughing. Like, he actually teased me and said, if that's the case, well, if he was told that, he would spend the last 3 days having the best sex of his life. Yes, he would spend that experiencing multiple orgasms because he wants to live with a bang. So maybe I should consider that. I said, no, I want to go to heaven. I don't want to spend my last days having sex and orgasms. No, I want to go to heaven. So I'm not married. I can't be having sex. I need to make sure everything is like all correct so that the angels will welcome me to heaven. So that was out of the case. Then I don't think I even stayed for lectures. I went back to my room and I was terrified and trying to distract myself. I wasn't working. And I still remember that I didn't spend that day worrying about the things I wanted to do. I was worried about the people I was leaving behind. So by the ninth time, I couldn't sleep again. it was still the same process, praying, and then I slept off and I woke up. Then the second day I was like, okay, so is this day 2 or day 3? I couldn't really tell which day it was starting from. So again, I did the same thing, and I was trying to be nicer to people, hugging, holding people, calling my brothers and sisters and dad. I was talking to them all, and I was like, what if you die this way, they're going to be like, no wonder she kept calling and telling me all these things. I didn't understand it. Is it going to be one of such stories or what? I was very puzzled about that too, but I said, I don't really care now. I'd made up my mind that I was going to write down the fact that I knew I was going to die and keep it somewhere so they can find it when I was gone. Oh God, such torture. So by the third day, the 9th of the second day, and the next day will be third day, my roommate, one of my roommates, fell sick, seriously sick. And so at 9 times, it was a bunk bed and she was on top. I told her, since you're sick, why don't you come and lie beside me so that if you need help through and I can be of better help to you out. And she said, okay. What she didn't know was that I was self-serving. Yes, I was scared to sleep alone. So I just needed her by my side. But I told her I was doing that for her own good. So she agreed and she came to lie beside me on the bed, and I was beside her. I couldn't sleep. Whilst awake, tossing and turning, then the lights went off in the hostel again. I was like, oh my God, the angel of death is visiting. That is why the light is off. Everybody was sleeping then. I was so terrified. And then it was about 12 midnight-ish. My roommate started, I don't know if I should say, no, it was not convulsion, but she was, oh God, and I was screaming, oh my God, I've killed her. This thing has transferred to her. I was so tired, I was scared, I was screaming for help, help, help. And people rushing, because my other roommate had left, she was not around. She had gone home, the Muslim, she had gone home. So I was screaming for help. People rushed to our room, and I'm like, I don't know what's happening to her. I was so scared. We rushed her to the hospital. It was late, so when we got to the roadside, there was no car going about, and some of the guys ran around to see if they would get a taxi. So one came with a taxi. They said it was a couple out on a date, and they agreed to let the taxi help us to the hospital. So the taxi came, and then we took her to the police hospital. While sitting there, I didn't tell any of them that, but I was crying and so scared and praying to God, and I was like, it's okay, I'll take this instead. Please this shouldn't transfer to her. I mean, I asked her to come and sleep beside me. I don't know what I'll do to myself should something happen to her, because it's transferred onto her. So when the nurses came out and said, oh, she's fine now, I think she had malaria and the treatment was not properly done, so throughout the night her fever just got, I was like, okay, all right. But so they said we could go back to our hostel. I was so terrified going back. I'm like, what if we go and then this thing gets worse? The next day came, morning, I was like, well, I'm still here. Let's see, throughout the night, maybe throughout the day, things will change. I kept praying and praying. I'm like, God, okay, well, at that point, I was like, I think I'm so in a good place with God now. If I die, I'm going to heaven. I don't know if I want to let this pass me by. I'm like, if I stay extra, I'll probably risk going to hell later. Like, maybe now it's okay to go to heaven because I'm all correct with God. Like, I've taken Jesus as my Lord and personal Savior. I have confessed my sins. I've told him to welcome me to heaven. Like, I'm ready to go. If this car passes me by now, I might go to hell. So do I really want to live at this point? I was ready by then to die, because I'm like, when I die now, I'm going to heaven, so it's all good. I'm ready to go. Then for the next few hours in the last day, I realized I completely forgot that I was supposed to be dying. Like, I forgot. It was later that my friend, the one I met at the mall, called, he was like, today is a thing, but you're not dead. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like, what's the time? It's 12 midnight. 3 days is gone, I'm not dead, I'm still alive. And that is how I am still alive till date. I look back and I assess that. And I realized that I met somebody who was playing with my mind, who was a fraudster, wanted to take my money, because when he said he could help me, he was ready to buy some things. This is how he was going to hypnotize me, and before I know it, I'll go to the hostel and bring people's laptops, because I know people who've gone through that. You know, funny thing is that at that very moment, I didn't even think of him as a fraudster. I didn't. Because when somebody say you are dying, you start fearing so much, because you know that there's only one life that you have. When you lose it, what else? Like, to what end is anything else? So you're ready to do anything at all. It's different from they saying you're going to lose money, you're going to lose your job, you're going to fail your exams, because then you know you still have an opportunity to do something else. But when they say you're dying, they can easily cripple you. Since then, I realized how much power people who speak and claim they're speaking from a spiritual point of view can have on you. And have since been extra vigilant of the people who want to speak into my life. I'm like, hey, hold it, hold it, hold it. But one of the lessons I really learned in that period was that at that moment, the things that mattered to me was how my loved ones were going to feel when I was no more. Honestly, I was not bothered about the things I've not been able to do, the things I've been able to do. None of that mattered to me. All that mattered to me was I wanted to be straight with my Creator, so that if there's a heaven beyond here, I wanted to go to that place instead. Because I've experienced enough hell, I want to move on. And I felt comfortable moving to the other side, because I felt like I wouldn't be lonely, because I'm like, my mom was already there, so I will meet somebody I knew there. But I was very, very concerned about the people. This story is something I've been told. None of my family members know this. So when they watch this, they're going to be like, oh, and you didn't tell us. But hey, it's okay. Don't call me about it. I really don't want to revisit this again. So don't call me and say, why didn't I tell you or anything? Please don't. My friends found out later, because then I could tell them after 3 days when I didn't die. And they teased me for a long time, because I was almost scammed. But hey, I'm here now and I can share it. So that's what happened to me when I thought I had 3 days to live. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. There's more coming up. So this was just story time, but it's Amma Says, and I had something to say, so that's why I said that. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Amma Says. Turn on your notifications. Invite friends and loved ones to subscribe as well. Like my Facebook page, Amma Says. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Amma_Says. Thank you so much for watching. Hey, I shot a launcher.